welcome to my video on The Walking Dead Season 4, Episode 12, Still. The episode is rated TVMA, so will this video be like all other videos I've done on the show? Absolutely love this episode. There will be spoilers for the episode and all the ones leading up to it. Yeah, I am really loving these character-centric, little snapshot zoomed in kind of things. Yeah, I mean, I love the ones where it was like big groups as well, but it's really working, I think. Yeah, I mean, legit, this is a 2-episode story. Like, it's almost like a stage play, Yeah, I love it. Let's see, yeah, I mean, right from the very start of the episode, it's really just so amazing. I love this thing of, they find a car, and yeah, they end up hiding inside the trunk, and yeah, incredibly tense, because like there was a little bit there where I was like, did they make their situation 1,000,000 times worse? Should they just have gone back the way they came, maybe, or something? Because it sounds like there's a lot. Great sound design this episode. The walkers outside. Love that we did not see the outside. This is a show that will sometimes show a lot of walkers. And I wouldn't rule out that they were trying to save money on this episode or something, but I do think it was an artistic decision. And yeah, it was absolutely the right decision. Stay within the small confined space, really claustrophobic and effective. But yeah, the sound design, the later on, with grasshoppers, I forget, but we hear like when they're sitting outside and she's happy drunk, we can hear like some insect make a noise. I think that the fact that they end up staying in the trunk for quite some time. They stayed there all night. They waited forever to see if it was right time to leave. And yeah, bet you forgot that song even existed, didn't you? So had I for a long time. I don't know why it popped into my head recently. Anyway, or I guess just watching this episode, really. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, they managed to find enough place in the woods, set up a little noise-making trap in case walkers come too close, and she plays a game about digging a hole and makes a fire, blows on it to make it better. I think, yeah, and then, the thing, right, him catching them some food, including a snake, which, like, yeah, far as I know, it's okay to eat at least some snakes, so yeah, and she's like, I want a drink, and a lot of the time she's the sweet summer child. Here it's maybe a little bit him. It's like, oh yeah, sure, water, good for you, hydrate, smart. And she's like, no, like alcohol, just yeah. And let's see. Yeah, that was one place where the Danish subtitler just kind of threw their hands in the air and were like, I'm sorry, there's no good way to translate that. Yeah. Let's see. Because like our word for drinking, like the activity, doesn't really correspond to a word for alcohol, and the word drink, like a cocktail kind of thing, can't mean to drink. So, yeah. Which, yeah, actually, the Danish subtitles make Daryl look remarkably ignorant or just kind of like optimistic. He's like, I must have misheard that. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear you ask for a drink, like alcohol. Anyway, but yeah, and she's like, you know what? Let's go get a drink. And he just sits there, and she's like, you know what? I can take care of myself. And she walks off, and like flips him off and calls him a jerk. And like, I really appreciate the way this episode like veers back and forth between like some of the time she's just kind of adorkable and like it's like 13-year-old white boy who just discovered Eminem kind of screw you, you're not the boss of me. And then other time, at the end of the episode, her suggestion, I don't think I want to repeat her exact words, but yeah, and she gets her way there. Yeah. Um, yeah, she there are a couple of walkers, and she does have the knife, but she'd rather try to avoid the situation. Distracts, noise distracts, and then he shows up, and he just takes her back to their camp, and she's like, no, and yeah, eventually manages to talk him into it, and yeah, she points out, if there's nothing we can do, then we might as well do this. Why are we just gonna sit there and do nothing all day? And yeah, like later in the episode we find out, I mean, that is kind of what he was used to, not really doing anything. So that might actually be kind of where, they have a bit of an argument. I guess there's a sort of ongoing argument over the course of the episode because they start disagreeing very early. But yeah, her saying, are we just going to do nothing all day? Like, she doesn't know that, but that might actually make him a little, that might feel like a personal dig. I think that does bring us nicely to. So yeah, they find the golf place. Golfers like to drink, don't they? And yeah, the exploration of the golf place was quite good. Also, the thing about climbing, crawling under the yeah crap, what's it called? Grandfather coffin. That's it. Which was also a great, at one point one of them sees, neither of them says it, but I heard somewhere, tempus fugit, translates to time flies, which is a wonderfully, like, because there's several ironies going on there. Obviously it's meant to be this sort of, you're supposed to see that on the clock and be like, yeah, boy, that is very true. You never, suddenly you realize, wow, time has passed really fast. But during the zombie apocalypse, time can feel like it's taking forever. And they have to be careful how much time they spend in any one place. And then later in the episode, yeah, once they both get drunk, some of the time, it seems like time flies. Yeah, let's see, they get to the, right, I like that, she changes into, clothes that are, yeah, less messed up, and then not long after, blood sprays on them, yeah. Yeah, it was really great, the entire scene of... Actually, just briefly, before I talk about them fighting off the walkers there, yeah, they were trying to be nice and stealthy, be quiet about it, and then, of course, the clock has to strike, and, yeah, in walk the walkers, being like, "Is that the time? Oh no, I'm gonna be late." And yeah, very cool as he like takes out several, and one of, well, I guess multiple with like golf clubs, which yeah. Um, and yeah, then they find the, I have no idea what the room is called, but the place with liquor. And Daryl actually like plays briefly with a pool ball, I guess figuring, if there was a real terrible person here, someone who killed women and children, then said, "This house is clean," this might make a decent enough weapon to take him out. I'm sorry, I mean, that had to be a reference, right? That's pretty, yeah. If you know very much about his career, you know that movie. Anyway, yeah, someone on this show really likes making references to that movie. Yes, I think that pretty well covers. Yeah, she stands there. Can I get a clean glass? These are all dirty. And fair enough. I mean, there's like blood on them, so that's yeah. Um, right. I did just briefly. I really appreciate this show's dedication to showing us some of the most fucked up shit that you've ever seen. Uh, yeah, we see the three hanging walkers, and find ourselves wondering how long have they been there, because like it could easily have been a long time, because like several of the bodies they find pretty bad shape, like they didn't die 2 seconds ago. And yeah, I mean, they were probably trying to spare themselves, because they didn't know it was airborne. So they've just been hanging there without being able to do anything. Just yeah. Right, and the one thing she can find is what was it, like peach something. And she's like, "Is it good?" And he's like, "No." It's pretty funny, yeah. Um, then we have, yeah, he's like, "You're gonna get something better to drink if this is the first time you drink," which is also, I appreciate, she said, "I never had a drink before because of my dad," which, yeah, I mean, for one thing, Herschel would definitely have said you were too young for that, little missy. And for another, he would not want, I mean, it would devastate him to see her also become an alcoholic. So yeah, it's really no wonder that she hadn't had a drink. I think that does bring us nicely. So yeah, he says, I know this place. Michonne and I found it, and yeah, uh, moonshine, which like I didn't know there was pretty much anyone who thought that would be particularly good liquor. From what I've heard, that's like, if you don't have any other options, you can, yeah. Um, and yeah, she's like, "Okay, passed the first test. I didn't go blind." Um, and the right at the he says, "There's nothing to see here anyway." That is one way to look at it, or not, as the case may be. I think that does. Oh, right. Yeah. Before the, I'm gonna talk more about the whole moonshine thing, obviously, but the thing with why are you bringing money back? With like what are you gonna, who are you gonna pay with that? And like who's gonna be like, We're only gonna sell if you have cash. Like, no, you're gonna barter with, supplies or something. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's also headed to DC and he is gonna try to buy a pardon. Pretty sure Trump is selling those. Is that why Abraham wants to go to DC? Does he need a pardon for something? Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you're going to be able to bribe him with a jet because he's already got. Yeah. And I don't know if Abraham has done anything quite bad enough for Trump to want a favor from him. Now, I think that. Right, I did like also Beth pointing out, okay, so you enjoy, you know, killing walkers. But yeah, I really like when so she drinks and like you may want to go easy on. Make sure you drink a lot of water, which yeah, and the that is something I hear. I don't drink anything other than water, pretty much. Anyway, yeah, the I know I'm boring. You don't have to tell me. Anyway, yeah, the my real life is boring. The media I take in, I try to make more interesting. That's how I get my kicks. Yeah. She pours in like, oh, this one's for you, and he's like, oh, one of us should be sober, which like I think is a decent enough. But yeah, she's like, oh, I'm sorry, are you my chaperone now, Mr. Dixon? She keeps calling him Mr. Dixon, just to bug him. Until by the end of the episode, she's back to Daryl. But yeah, the she does manage to convince him to drink, and then they play a drinking game. I am aware of drinking games. I've never watched my friends play drinking games. That does sound, yeah. I'm amazed she's not sadder than she is. Like, that really does. I'm sorry. That might actually get me to drink, if other people were playing a drinking game, just right in front of me, and I was the only sober person there. That yeah. Starts out. She's like, no, that was like a dry run. Well, dry as this liquor can be, and yeah, for a little while it goes okay, and then she says, I've never been to prison. I mean, as a convict. And yeah, like, obviously he goes too far, but one can understand, like, as he says, is that what you think of me? Like this, I, really? I'm just the yeah. And again, later he also, or wait, was that before? Fuck. Yeah, at some point in the episode. No, yeah, later, I believe. He says, me and Merle used to just do nothing every day. That's what I did. She tried, Zach never did get the information, and now we do. And yeah, he does not love that people view him, and it is like, I mean, he wasn't like going out of his way to like hurt people. It just, it's one of those things, like, it probably felt kind of pointless to him to even really try, because like, what is he gonna do? Like, everybody thinks he's nothing. Everyone who knows even a little bit about him knows some of his trauma, and frequently without him wanting them to. So yeah, like, there's the people who think he's never gonna amount to anything, and then there's the people who kind of pity him. But before the zombie apocalypse, nobody really thought much of him. And for her to say this thing that she she's too drunk to really think about. Is my read of the scene. She just doesn't. Yeah. Um, and then he tries to be as unappealing as possible. Making noise. Taking a piss right there in front of her and up against the wall. He's like, oh, this is what I am. This is what I am to you. So yeah. And the thing with the crossbow, and then he tries to force her to fire it, and he keeps, not quite killing it, but nailing it close enough that it appears to be purposeful. Like he is meaning to drag this out, draw this out, and yeah, you know. Then he says, is it my fault? I could have kept looking for him. The governor just walks right up to the gate. And now, people are dead. And they don't know at this point. We know that, at least last we saw, Maggie was still alive. But, yeah, what... Beth and Daryl don't have much reason to believe that, really. Beth wants it to be true, and Daryl is trying to spare himself the pain of hope. But yeah, I mean, that's part of why he breaks down like that. He's been holding on to this feeling of guilt over what the governor did. Even though, I mean, he stopped looking because the trail went dead, that Michonne went on for longer, but she also eventually had to stop because the trail went dead. Yeah. He's been carrying that around ever since the governor attacked, which, I mean, definitely must have been at least an entire day. Yeah, because that happened during the day, and now here they are, also day, and they spent all those hours in the trunk. Yeah. And then she's like, you're an ex-con, aren't you? And I mean, she does say, oh, I mean, it's like the drunk tank. Even my daddy's been the drunk tank, but yeah. That is not how he views yeah. I think that does... Right. Yeah, it was also really harsh when he brings up her suicide attempt. Yeah, trying to get to her the way that she got to him. And yeah, she says, you act like nothing matters, like you just don't care about anything. And he says, you act like all of this is a game, singing in public and this sort of thing, just... And I love when fiction does this, takes these characters that, like you would think these two would never get along, and some of the time they really don't. But, circumstance has forced them together, and now we're seeing them, react to one another's traits. Because, like, yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, he sees her as this, naive little girl that just really needs to grow up and accept this circumstance. She keeps taking these risks. And, yeah, she sees him as just yet another person who's telling her what to do. Like, there probably is a sense of, like, she used to think, oh, he's cool, he's edgy, but, now he's being just as, like she said, Maggie was always telling her what to do, and so was Sean, and now Mr. Dixon. But yeah, he has a breakdown, then a breakthrough, no breakup, and, she hugs him from behind, and yeah, it's a sweet moment, and they go back to to drinking, and you know she's happy drunk, or maybe just like kind of, yeah, she gets ideas in her head, not all of them good. Um, right, I like the thing about talking about, you know, what, you know, he recognized this place as like where he lived with his father and Merle, you know, and these traits, you know, um, target practice inside and these various things, you know, and I am not 100% certain, but I feel like there's some chance that I might know who the dealer on meth that Merle knew that they told me, you know, because he said like this skinny little white kid, white boy. Did he have a habit of calling everyone bitch and, you know, being really eager about certain things, sometimes saying, yeah, science, yeah, Mr. White. Yeah, I can't help but wonder if that might be him. Um, I think that does. Yeah, you know, they drink some more, and you know, then she's like, yeah, she makes her suggestion, you know, and at first, like when he just gets up, because he takes the liquor with him. At first, I thought he was gonna be like, I think you may have had enough, little missy, possibly too much. It is entirely likely that you have had way too much to drink. Right. I do briefly want to praise both of them. Do amazing acting here. Yeah. I'd like to see her in more. Uh, I have happily seen him in other things than this, and yeah, like just he's always so good. Yeah, the intensity when he, you know, when he gets up and he's like, "Is that how you see me?" and he, you know, yelling at her and the whole thing. Just yeah. Um, but yeah, you know, he gets up and he's like, we're gonna need more liquor for that. Which, I mean, I appreciate. Yeah, there's a catharsis to it, you know? They had a really bad argument here. They have made up, but they don't necessarily want to be reminded of it. And the place reminds him of where he grew up, and it was not a happy childhood. You know, these things, yeah. Um, yeah. And the bit near the end when she flips off the burning building, and then she's like, "Come on, you do it too." Just yeah. Um, and it is really like to think. Oh right, just briefly want to mention. Have not listened to them yet. I will before I watch the next episode. But this is actually an episode so nice they commentary tracked it twice. One of them has Emily Kinney, and the other one has Norman Reedus. I don't immediately recognize the other names, but I can imagine they're like crew. Certainly, it can't be other actors in the episode unless they brought on Walker actors or something. But no, likely it's like writer director something like that. But yeah, uh, right, yeah, the yeah, you know the thing about how, you know, the dealer almost became a death dealer, you know, put a gun to Daryl's head, you know, and like, I mean, he almost killed someone over like a children's cartoon about a talking dog. Yeah. Honestly, too relatable.